Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the first ever Who's That Pokemon Jayquaza edition. So let's talk about this guy here. So, this new Pokemon here named Meltan was just announced today, and he was actually released a few days back, like September, I think it was 22nd. And he appeared on Pokemon Go. And a lot of people were like catching him, had no idea what he was. I was actually on Pokemon Go the minute that he started showing up, and I caught a few of them. They all started becoming Ditto, and then everybody started speculating what this guy was, right? So immediately people started being like all over the internet with this guy. There were screenshots of him. Pokemon groups were talking about him. My Pokemon Go group that I'm in was talking all about this guy, and then they started hinting at that it was a bigger thing, right? So I just kind of chopped it off as it was going to be another next-gen Pokemon, or, you know, something that was just a glitch in the game when it became Ditto. But then everybody started saying that it was this bigger thing, and people started data mining into it a little bit, and there was research that was showing that he was in the Pokedex, and oddly enough, I was hearing the number 891. Now, according to Cerebi.net, they went ahead and plugged him in as Pokemon 808, which is the next one in the Pokemon order after Zeraora. And I don't know if that's just to fill space, or if that's supposed to be the actual, Pokedex number that this guy's given. And unfortunately, I was kind of hoping that, Pokemon was gonna leave him a little bit more mysterious up until the release of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, but they went ahead and gave some details on him, which we've been able to see on the one screen showing through on my computer here, that his name is Meltan. He is the Hex Nut Pokemon. It is just a solid steel type. Now, that confused me because I thought perhaps he was going to be, another type on top of that, maybe fire type because it's got that melting liquid look, or even water type because of that. And then his height, well, we could already tell was going to be pretty small. And then his weight, now I expected them to do something really dramatic with his weight because he's made out of metal. So I figured he was going to be really, really obnoxiously heavy, and turns out he's pretty light. Now I'm just going to let this go back to filtering through. But what they didn't do was give you any more information on him other than a few little captions for describing his nature, and then not really giving he didn't get any ability listed yet or any other real true talking about him, other than he is this very curious Pokemon, and they kind of said that he was a mythical Pokemon. Now, whether or not he's a mythical or a legendary, I don't really know if they're going to say, but I think they went ahead and said he is a mythical Pokemon, which I'm hoping that right now he is a pre-Gen 8 Pokemon, but I'm kind of worried if he really is just supposed to be an additional mythical added in on top of Gen 7. That would kind of bother me. I mean, they've done that in the past. I mean, you look at Gen 6, they had Volcanion coming out almost all the way up until the next generation of Pokemon was released. And then you have other games where, like Gen 5, they released Victini at the front of the Pokedex order instead of the end, and he was a Gen 5 Pokemon, not classified as Gen 4. So that's really cool. I am hoping that he is the big next Gen 8 Pokemon. But yeah, some of the really cool speculations that were going around that I was hearing about is that he was supposed to be in a Alolan form to Ditto, since when Ditto was coming out of his transformation. I thought that was a really cool idea. I'd also heard that maybe he was supposed to be the pre-evolution to Ditto. Of course, then there was the obvious, he is a new Pokemon. I just heard that he might have been a glitch too. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't very sold on any of it. I just didn't really know what to think of him. And so, yeah, let's get in a little deeper here. So, his name, Meltan, to me, immediately says, melting. That's the first thing I see is melting. But I also kind of thought, okay, Pokemon names kind of break it up a little bit. Now, melting, I see is more in the name than metal, but I also kind of hear metal in the name, as well as molten. So he is, liquid metal, so molten. So I guess melting, molten, but metal. So, and then I don't really see with this hex part in his classifications coming in, other than maybe he is just a living bolt nut. That's my only kind of thing with him. Now, going a little bit more into him, so immediately, if he is a mythical Pokemon, I can only assume that he's going to get transformations, some kind of form change later on. I mean, you look at mythicals in the past, and they have had a history of giving extra forms to the mythicals. So, like, Meloetta has its dancing form. Shaman has the sky form. You have Hoopa with the unbound form. And then I can also think, I know I came up with one earlier, off the top of my head, I can't really think of it, but then Deoxys has transformations, and I think he's arguably a mythical at times too. So you have all these different Pokemon that they have had mythicals for that are transformation Pokemon. And I think Keldeo, if I didn't mention him, Keldeo was the other one I was thinking of. I knew I had thought of 4 of them earlier today. And so I'm thinking that, yeah, he could get some kind of transformation. And then when I was reading into some of his information on the Pokemon.com earlier, they were stating that one of his things in his habit, his nature, his anything that they have on him is that his body is made of liquid metal, and it is a corrosive metal that when he touches other metals, he corrodes it and absorbs it. Which this later on apparently is a charged up beam attack. It says that he generates electricity and shoots it from his eye. That's kind of basic, but what I'm really interested in there is that he corrodes and absorbs metal. So my first vision that went into my head with this thing is that if he absorbs metal, he's going to be able to transform into something bigger, something stronger. And I started thinking about how Deoxys is. Now, depending on maybe what metal he absorbs, he might become a different form. And since I am assuming that he's going to have the standard mythical stats of 100 base stats all across the board, this might end up being a changed thing later on. If he gets an attack form, a defense form, a speed form, whatever, just like Deoxys, and then you can play with those 100 base stat powers and change them a little bit to make it more for an attack or a defense. And I think that's going to be really, really cool. Now, he's also a solid steel type, which this already really intrigues me. I think he's going to be a super, super powerful Pokemon in competitive play because he has so many resistances and 1 immunity. That's going to be really nasty, especially if he has these good stats that are 100 base powers across the board, and even better if he has transformations that you can play with. I'm looking super forward to that, like giving him a defense form that he already has all these resistances to, and you know he's going to have some kind of really cool ability on top of that that they haven't said yet. And I can see that this guy is going to be some kind of giant powerhouse Pokemon later. Now, the thing that I also am now curious about is what that ability is going to be. Now, I would assume that they're going to give him a signature ability just because most mythicals get really signature moves, or they get limited to only a few Pokemon. And so some of these ideas that I'm coming up with that I'm going to say here, I'm not super sold on them. I don't think that they're necessarily going to be it, but they are just kind of this little hope in the back of my mind that maybe that's it. So the first one, and this is probably very unlikely, is that in that data that I was reading on him, it said that he corrodes metals. So I was thinking, that would be really, really cool if corrosion which was the Salandit and Salazzle ability, if he could get that, which makes it so that he can poison steel types. Now, I wouldn't know where he would really get that. Maybe he has some kind of steel type signature move that poisons enemies. That's a stretch. That's a really big stretch. But if he corrodes metals, it's always kind of there. There's a possibility of it. And then I also kind of got to thinking that since he absorbs metals, why not give him a signature move or a signature ability that's similar to Water Absorb, Flash Fire, Storm Drain, Sap Sipper, Lightning Rod, all those. So you have some kind of metal absorb. In which case he could either raise his stats, whether that be special attack or his defense, or another one that might raise his HP. Now that would be really, really cool because he would be the only one having the ability to absorb steel type moves, and that would give him one extra immunity. Now that is also kind of overkill and a bit of a stretch. Other than that, I don't really know what kind of ability they're going to give him. Maybe they'll give him some kind of ability that just ties in with his changing of whatever he is, like a transformation one, kind of like how Zoroark has the ability to transform into other Pokemon. Maybe it really is a playoff Ditto. Who knows? Now, going into that then, so I really don't think that he has any ties to Ditto at all. Even though they went ahead and released him with the transforming into Ditto thing, I don't think he has any ties into Ditto. Now, because any Pokemon in the entire Pokemon Go game can transform into a Ditto once captured. So, it is my opinion that they just threw him in there as something new that Ditto might have seen in the wild and transformed into. But that's just me. Now, if for some reason that they decided to go ahead and tie him back to Ditto, Ditto had transformed into him, not him transforming into Ditto. Now, I don't know about that, Justin, because when I was capturing him, he would transform into Ditto right after that. So, or Ditto, or rather, yeah, you're right, I see what you're saying. Now, Ditto had transformed into him, not him transforming into Ditto. Yeah, okay, so yeah, Ditto was copying the Meltan. Yeah, so yeah, he was copying Meltan. Okay, alright, so we're on the same page. But, so I don't really think Ditto has anything to do with this guy. But if for some reason that he was to have some kind of Ditto connection, anytime that there are all these fan theories about Ditto with, like, Mew being mythical together, so, Mew and Ditto have all these connections, they're same colors, they're same shinies, they have the same weight, they have the same size, they have the ability to transform, and they're the only ones other than Smeargle, and all these other connections. So, what if, just bearing with me on this one, what if Meltan was a more successful version of a Ditto that they had tried to clone into a Mew? I don't know, that's just a thought. It's not a very good thought, but it's a thought. It's an obscure one. And so let's talk a little bit more about something kind of interesting. Now, they're going to obviously have to, if he has transformations, they're going to have to give him some kind of item for it or in-game means of doing it. And I was kind of jokingly talking with one of my buddies earlier and was like, okay, so, there's Hoopa Unbound, so what if this thing becomes Meltan Unhinged? Just something really stupid. It was just kind of a joke. And it's like, what if he has, instead of the lamp, the Mystic Genie lamp, he has some kind of wrench that unbreaks his ability or whatever. I don't know. It was just kind of a small thought. I was laughing about it earlier. I was just giving it all the thoughts I could. But yeah, I think I'm really going to like this guy. I think he's going to end up being a super fun Pokemon to play, and all of his abilities, I'm sure, are going to be really cool. As all Mythicals go, he's going to have access to majority of the move pool, and I obviously am going to be able to get probably my Thunder Wave and my Toxic out of him. I can probably defense stall this thing up and down. I'm going to love that. This is going to be the perfect defensive Pokemon or the perfect offensive Pokemon for me. and I'm not going to say that it's going to get, like, overpowered, but I can see that he's going to be overused because he's going to have access to so many different moves, and he has all the resistances. He's going to be able to counter most other types. I think it's going to be a really fun Pokemon, and I cannot wait to see this guy and cannot wait to get him. So, I think that's it for me, guys. I got nothing else on this guy. I got nothing. It's going to be really exciting to see what they do with him, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, I will keep everyone updated if I see more. And so, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. This has been Jay Queza, and we're out of here.